Welcome back, fight fans. Welcome back. Let's just dig right into it. I just want to start with an introduction to the Boxing Guru podcast. These guys are great guys. They're going to be our affiliate partner in the UK, and they're going to help us with shows and events here in the US. So, watch out for Boxing Guru. Go to their channel. The link is in the description. These guys have an amazing new show and podcast. Check them out. So let's just dig right into the Q&A with the IBFP, and let's just break it down and get right into it. The first one comes from Ichiro Ada. Should Estrada give Rungvisai a trilogy or look for a unification against Ancajas? I think he should go for the trilogy. It's only going to pump up his name. It's only going to bring more attention to the division and make for much bigger and competitive fight. The next one comes from Roger Hernandez. Roger Hernandez states, why are the PBC fighters and fans and their fan base bees and duckers? And so let's just dig into that. And the reason why I would say, Roger, is because these guys are fanboys. These guys don't look at things in a realistic outlook. They try to make justifications for fighters ducking. They try to make justifications for their fighters under any circumstance. These guys aren't boxing fans. These guys are fans specifically of the PBC. These guys aren't fans of all of boxing. These guys aren't fans of different boxers and great fights. These guys are fans of only of these guys that fight on the PBC. That's all these guys are fans of. But let's keep it going. The next one comes from Augustine Rook. As far as, requesting a video for the Juan Francisco Estrada, who became a champion at 115, or Danny Roman, who just unified titles at 122. Yes, we just go ahead and put out those videos now. Augustine, salute to you, brother. The next one comes from Bernie Sanders. Why is Floyd so needy? Floyd Mayweather Jr. is just an intentional whore. Let's be honest and unbiased. Manuel Papp, summer 2008, says, historically, how will age play a factor with fighters which continue to fight lesser opposition? Will Father Time be their biggest opposition? PBC fighters? Question mark. I think eventually these guys will step into the ring with a fighter that they don't expect to do as well. And I referenced the Jermell Charlo versus Tony Harrison fight. Tony Harrison was already a beaten fighter, a guy who had already been stopped, by another 154-pound champion in Jared Swift Hurd. And so when he came in and fought Jermell Charlo, everybody thought it was just another day in the office, and he got beat. So these are the type of fights that will surprise you, shock you, and it will just be underestimating and overlooking a guy thinking it's just easy work, because these guys aren't prepared for different styles. You always have to remember, in the sport of boxing, styles make fights, and that's always going to be an issue for a lot of guys. But let's keep it going. Immortal Fox says, what division do you think is being overlooked the most, and which is getting too much attention despite the lack of good fights being made? The one division I think is getting underlooked the most and is not getting enough attention is 150 is 140 pounds. I think 140 is not getting enough attention. It should. You have a lot of interesting and great fighters there, and you potentially have a Teofimo Lopez coming to 140 sooner than later. You have Regis Prograis, Josh Taylor, Mikey Garcia, Maurice Hooker. So you have a lot of good fighters there, and a lot of good fights to be made, and a lot of guys looking to move up. So that's going to be a hot division very soon, and it's just not getting a lot of attention right now. Although it is getting some attention, it's not getting heavy attention. As far as the division that's that's getting too much attention, that needs that may be overrated, is 154. If you look at 154, the champions aren't necessarily fighting each other, and they're delaying the big fights, and that can be frustrating. But let's keep it going. Swiss Kid 316 says, what do you think of El Gallo's win over Rungvisai? Do you think he should unify the division? I think a trilogy would be great for just big and getting his name bigger, but I also think unifying the division would be a great way to go too. So I couldn't hate on either way. I just think a trilogy would be just making him a bigger star than what he already is. Let's keep it going. Adrian Felix says, is it possible for Terence Crawford to become the mandatory for the other belts? How does he get ranked by sanctioning bodies? Typically, when you're a world champion, you don't get ranked with other belts. So that's typically what happens here. So Terence Crawford just has to make himself a lucrative fight and just try to keep fighting the best competition. It's clear that these guys are ducking him, and his fan bases, Errol Spence Jr.'s fan base is giving him a pass. Typically, when one fighter is ducking another, the other guy's fan base would be like, hey, put pressure on him. Hey, stop ducking. The world will turn on him and say, hey, you need to fight this guy. With Errol Spence Jr.'s deluded fans, these guys are delusional. They're not putting pressure on Errol Spence Jr. To fight Terence Crawford. They're actually, giving him a pass, applauding him in his efforts. And so at the end of the day, that fight is just not a fight Errol Spence Jr. is going to take anytime soon. He's going to try to fight everyone before Terence Crawford. There's really nothing Crawford can do other than keep fighting other guys, and he's going to eventually have to make a ridiculous offer to another welterweight of offer that these guys almost can't refuse to try to get another top guy to come and fight him. He also states, Errol Spence versus Shawn Porter, how does that unfold? I think it's a very close fight. I'd pick Errol Spence Jr. to win. By stoppage, I don't know. I think Shawn Porter will go the distance. Spence couldn't even stop Mikey Garcia. I will say this, that Shawn Porter has never been in a fight where he's been blown out or dominated. So if Errol Spence Jr. comes in and dominates Shawn Porter, I'll give him all the credit in the world. If Shawn Porter turns out this could be a trick and a trap fight for Errol Spence, where Shawn Porter could get robbed because Errol Spence Jr. is a bigger name than Shawn Porter at this point, has a bigger fan base, and Shawn Porter may outperform Errol Spence, may outwork him. So, you wouldn't necessarily hesitate that. We looked at Shawn Porter fighting Danny Garcia, and a lot of people thought that Shawn Porter would come in recklessly, and get countered by Danny Garcia and may get stopped. But that never happened. Shawn Porter used lateral movement all night. So no telling what game plan Shawn Porter will come in to this fight with. The next one he has is, what does Dimitri Bivol have to do to make the pound-for-pound list? He just has to unify the division. He has to beat another world champion or a big name. Simple as that. Dimitri Bivol is a very, very good fighter, and he's a problem for anyone. Maldonado S is, where do you rank Regis Prograis? I think it's him or Josh Taylor at number 1 at 140. I agree 100%. It's either him or Josh Taylor, and these two guys fighting will solidify who's the number 1 guy at 140 pounds. I like both of these guys. I think they're both very, very talented and gifted fighters, and I'm just ready for these guys to get it on so we can determine who's the best. He said, and expect Mikey Garcia to duck them also. How can anyone hate on the zone? They give you Canelo, AJ, the World Boxing Super Series for $100 a year, not to mention the other boxing events as well. We all get from the PBC as cherry picks on pay-per-view. I agree 100%, and that is probably the most coherent and accurate statement I've ever heard, Maldonado. So great job. William Gomez states, now this is a very interesting comment. How is Terence Crawford pound number 1 if he hasn't even faced a real opposition at 147? Let's be fair and call Canelo the best pound for pound fighter after beating the middleweight king Triple G. Now if Bud beats Spencer Thurman or both of them, he can be pound for pound number 1. For now, it's undoubtedly Canelo Alvarez in my opinion, and it's hard to have an argument with that, William, because at the end of the day, Canelo Alvarez is an elite level fighter. He has probably the best record in active boxing today. So if you have Canelo number 1 pound for pound on your list, I have no argument for you, because at times I have Canelo and other times I have Terence Bud Crawford, because you have to understand that both of these guys bring different things to the table. Terence Bud Crawford defeats his opponents in a certain type of fashion, humiliating, dominating, stoppages. Canelo Alvarez is not really doing that to his opponents. He's beating Triple G in a very close, controversial fight. So even though he did get the win, it's a very, very close fight. And then when you look on the other end and you see Terence Bud Crawford, he's blowing guys out of the water. Granted, these guys aren't the level of Triple G, but he's still getting the job done against the best competition available to him. He's already become undisputed at 140 pounds, something Canelo hasn't done. So I can't judge anyone who has Terence Bud Crawford or Canelo Alvarez number 1 pound for pound. Either way, you got an elite level fighter, a great champion. And I think that if Canelo Alvarez beats Danny Jacobs in any form or fashion, he's undoubtedly number 1 pound for pound, and I don't see any fighter able to overtake him this year. But let's keep it going. Eduardo Sanchez says, Caleb Plant versus Billy Joe Saunders at 168. Who you got? I have to pick Caleb Plant because he has more experience at the 168 pound division. He's more proven at 168, and he already has a world title. He's proven that he could take a lot of power shots from a Jose Uzcategui. So I think that is shown that Caleb Plant can not only box, but he has a very, very good and sufficient chin. And so I would have to go with Caleb Plant at 168 over Billy Joe Saunders, although I think it would be a hell of a fight, an interesting fight in a stylistic chess match. I would love to see it happen. But once again, Unbiased, as always, it's the IBFP. Please share, like, and you must absolutely subscribe.